Hello, so this is the last video in the Malthi Digital Reconstruction series for SPARC teaching resources. And so today we're going to be running through the Unity optional project. So the first thing you'll need to do is click New when Unity, well, assuming you have Unity installed, all you have to do is click New. Note this is the version that I'm using for this. And make sure you put it in a sensible location. And what you'll want to select is a 3D template. And so you'll click Create, and it'll take some time for Unity to open and create the basic template. So when Unity starts up, this is what you'll see. I'm just going to skip downloading the new version here. So for this video, I'm just going to go with the Mesh Collider option. Hopefully the terrain option is clear enough on the exercise. So here's your scene, here's the assets, and this is where your hierarchy, or basically list of layers, is going to go. So first we'll want to import assets. And so you'll want to drag your files into the assets window here. And so now that's imported, let's get our structures in there as well. Maybe. There we go. And so now that that is in the assets area, you can drag it into the actual 3D scene. You'll notice that we need to do some rotating here. And so if we rotate this 270 degrees, this will now be up again. Y is up, as you can see. And then we'll also import the structures, which may also need to rotate by 270 degrees. And so what I'm using to move, so I'm holding down the middle mouse button to pan. I am right clicking to do this sort of change in camera direction. But otherwise, this is probably the quickest way to move. So we use this to move the structures along and hopefully align them with the outline of the site, if this is the correct orientation. Looks like. So you just have to eyeball it up, but hopefully there's enough detail that you're able to find it. And here's so I've obviously used my gray boxed features, and I've got my little reconstructed house here. Obviously everything's slightly off the ground, so a little far off. There we go. That'll be okay. Right, so there's this. Get our top-down view, and it'll look a bit more familiar. And so as you can see, actually, I'll just double check and make sure this is correct. So you should be able to line up with your walls here. Further up. There we go. Okay, so let's go with this. So right now you can see that this is the decimated version, there aren't too many details visible at the moment. So what you'll want to do is drag your normal maps into the assets as well. So the important thing here is, as tempting as it is to create a separate folder in the assets for your normal maps, what you'll want to do actually is to copy them over into the same assets area as the actual 3D mesh, because that will make it easier for the software to match it up to the materials that it will already recognize. And you can see here that it has automatically come up with a pop-up saying it recognizes that these are the normal maps, so you can hit fix now. And so it will automatically identify that where these normal maps are supposed to go. And so now you can see there's much more detail on our normal maps. And so it should be able to reference the FBX and check which normal maps are supposed to be assigned where. But if it looks a bit odd in some areas, then you may want to extract the materials, as you'll find instructions for at the end of this part of the exercise. And you can double check and make sure that the correct normal map has been applied to the correct section. So overall, your structure should be placed on your map, and your normal map should be clearly in the correct space. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a mesh collider to the terrain so that a character can walk on it, essentially. So make sure you have your terrain highlighted so that it's clearly visible here, and all the inspector information is here. And now we're going to add a component called a mesh collider. There it is. And so that's now been added to our mesh. We'll want to highlight convex, which will take some time to apply. So that process took about 9 minutes, so that's pretty substantial, so just so you know. Okay, so now there has been a collider added to the floor here, so we should be able to add the first person player capsule. So the way you get your first person controller added, hopefully you've added it from the asset store already, and so it should be fairly easy to find here. And so this is the one you want, the first person character controller. It's updated in June. And so once you have that selected, hit import. This will take some time as well. And then this appears, hit import again. And so now at this point, I'll ask if you want to restart to enable the backends, and you'll click yes. Okay, so after about 9 more minutes, this has now been imported into the assets folder. I've created a starter assets folder within that. So first we want to navigate to this first person controller folder. Under prefabs, there's going to be a nested parent asset. And so what you want to do is you want to drag it in and position it somewhere so that if it falls, it will fall onto the site, essentially. And you may need to move it a little further. If there's a bit of a drop, that's probably okay. And you can use this move function up here to move the player character just so it's not going to drop on anything immediately. Okay, so that's a pretty good position for it. Now, why are you doing that? Why? Okay. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, now we are actually able to move as the player on the surface. We can come up and check out this house as well, so it's not open. So as you notice, you are able to walk through walls at this point. And so how would we fix that? Well, add a mesh collider to the structures, and then we wouldn't be able to walk through the walls, because right now it's not really a realistic experience. So like many other video games, shift is run, spacebar is jump, and WASD are the move keys. And so when you want out of your experience, you can hit the escape key and hit pause, and play again will reset the position of your player. So to apply the mesh collider to the gray boxing and the house that you've created, you can't just apply it to the Malthi structures. You have to highlight all of these individual elements and then hit add component, and it'll allow you to add mesh collider to all of these. Now this doesn't need to be convex, that's only for the terrain itself, but everything else should work okay, as we can see here as I play through this little bit here. So yep, mouse controls where you look. W is forward. And as you can see, I am no longer able to collide, or to go through the house. I can climb on the house if I really want to. But that is it. So that is how the basics of how you create a sort of a walkthrough experience of your site. Of course, when you want to, you should save, of course. So once you are happy with your project, you can check the build settings and add the scenes and everything, and decide what sort of build you're going for. WebGL is necessary to put things into sort of a browser experience now, but it all depends on your audience. And so that is the end of this set of teaching materials for the digital reconstruction of Malthi. I hope that this has opened up a few doors, has pointed a few resources out to you if you want to pursue this further. This is only the basics. There's so much more that can be done. So enjoy!